you like to have a better looking body? Or to resist the temptations that life challenges you with? We presently live in a trance of inadequacy, stress, and expectations from ourselves. Deep down, we dream like we're meant to fail in some way. We move through our life fixated on goals that simply elude us. We seem to always dwell on our faults because we're imperfect. This is something that is becoming the new norm of society, where the main focus is not what we already have and should be grateful for, but on the things that we aren't able to have immediately, right now. This is where radical self-acceptance comes in. By applying the strategy of radical self-acceptance that I'm bringing up here, we're going to judge ourselves less harshly and we will become a happier and calmer individual. Now, how many of us try to achieve something or go somewhere, get somewhere? We do this even when we're doing things that are fun for us. Instead of enjoying what we have in the present moment, we think about where we need to go next. Well, in fact, the future will never arrive and it distracts us from being in joy and in the present, just like children. Thanks to Western culture, we think that what we're doing now isn't good enough. We think that people are fundamentally flawed unless they're successful. Now, I talk quite a lot about this in the Spiral Dynamics video series, so go check it out, color orange, about success and about rationalizing everything. Now, from our youngest years, we are taught that we're not enough and we should achieve things in order to be happy, okay? And this is something that they teach in school as well. To the contrary, Buddhism teaches us that human beings are naturally perfect and that you're already doing wonderfully in your human experience. Doesn't matter where you are or what flaws you think you might have. Self-judgment keeps us trapped while radical self-acceptance actually frees us from that trap. Many of us remain stuck in our habits even though greater freedom is possible and those habits are keeping us from achieving it. Self-judgment is what keeps us in that cage. We tend to listen to our inner critic that is never happy. Our inner critic is never happy. This keeps us trapped in a box. It keeps us from loving other people. And from all of this, we can actually free ourselves. The key to that freedom is to accept everything about our inner and outer self. This should be done without attempting to judge, without attempting to control or to resist our thoughts and our feelings that rise up against this process. Let's take an example. If you're watching this channel, then you are a person that's self-aware and are striving to become a better human being. That means that when you catch yourself judging someone else, you might have a little feeling of guilt. With radical self-acceptance, you won't. You could simply acknowledge your thoughts and move on. It grants you greater freedom and it's much simpler than what we make of it. Let me emphasize that this is not about becoming indifferent to your emotional needs. It's a higher perspective as you shift to accepting that even that particular feeling or thought are a part of who you are and a part of creation's greater plan for yourself. That is the idea behind radical self-acceptance. Now, dealing with any sort of pain is hard. Trying to change or escape an experience means that we're actually rejecting that pain or experience. Our personal experiences are an important part of making us who we are. When we think we're not good enough, we're actually rejecting a part of ourselves and a part of our human experience or human journey. The more we try to change our experiences, our thoughts, or our feelings, we feed our sensation of inadequacy. When faced with these type of painful situations, the best we can do is to pause. When we pause, we recognize our emotions, our feelings for that particular scenario. For example, you might feel that when you're looking at your favorite food, you want to eat it and that the sensation is beyond your control. You want to binge it. That means that you will binge it and then will have remorse and guilt. Instead, you can pause and recognize your emotions in that moment. The excitement, the guilt, and the self-criticism that is about to come. By analyzing your feelings of the expected experience, you will grow drastically. You will become more aware. All you really have to do is pause and recognize those emotions as they are, and you will have a change to create alternative means of dealing with them. Recognition is a game changer. Awareness to your thoughts and to your emotions. Pause right before you say something you're going to regret. Pause before you make a phone call and think about what you want to get out of that phone call, what you want to say. Pause after you recognize a self-criticizing thought or a judgment upon yourself or somebody else. After the pause, you will have more rational choices, and over time, your self-awareness will grow exponentially. Exponentially. You have to work on being kinder and to be a friend to yourself and to your painful experiences as well. They are a part of the person that you are. In the East, they're much more accepting of suffering, it's a part of life for them. Suffering is all around them in the form of poverty, for example. In the West, we're less likely to stumble upon extreme negative circumstances, and we are taught to suppress them, to ignore them. We're taught that this is irrational, this shouldn't happen. That's why in the East, negativity is accepted as a part of life, and people don't attempt to run away from it or criticize it. It just is. Instead of pushing away the negative experience or avoiding to bringing them up, see what happens when you confront them without any judgment. In other words, it happened and it's okay. By naming our fears and confusion, we honor our painful experiences. We don't turn the experience into an enemy. We embrace it as a friend. When we do recognize our emotions, we're actually practicing our radical self-acceptance. We pay attention to our feelings and it increases our self-compassion. Now, most of us love ourselves when we are succeeding, but as soon as we fail, we rush to self-judge those parts of ourselves that are less than perfect for us. Try to extend to yourself the same understanding and acceptance that you would to a close friend, or to a child maybe. The second method to practice radical self-acceptance is to focus on your physical sensations. Our first impulse is to react emotionally to a situation. Say someone cuts us in line, or our spouse said something embarrassing in front of our friends. Instead of concentrating on our feelings and rushing into an unnecessary confrontation, we can focus on our body. Try to feel how the anger or frustration is making your body feel. What are the bodily sensations? You're going to notice that the shift of focus itself slowly reduces the feeling itself. This happens because the negative emotion that we're not accepting is making our body feel stiff and tense, and it's an unnatural sensation. Recognizing that sensation in the body will immediately make the body seek the release of tension. Now, at that point, remembering the connection between the body and the mind will make you make better decisions. Unfortunately, most of us are disconnected from our body and are probably stuck in a mental world that doesn't allow us to make any progress. We simply don't pay enough attention to our physical sensations. Think about what happens to us when we meditate and we think we're doing it wrong, or we're blaming ourselves for having an occasional thought blend into the meditation. What would happen if we practice radical self-acceptance during those few minutes of meditation? The thought of judgment of having a thought during our meditation would disappear altogether, and the original annoying thought would have nothing to hold on to. Now, many of us are just hard on ourselves. I too find myself being hard on myself from time to time. We do this because we believe that we are protecting ourselves from suffering. Instead of allowing ourselves to feel sad, to feel stressed, or any other type of negative emotion, we cover our negative emotions up with unnecessarily self-judgment. We push them away because we're afraid that they might bring other negative feelings. Self-doubt that creates shame. Anger that generates hate. Unfortunately, rejecting suffering in this way doesn't help. To heal the parts of ourselves that are hurting, we need to embrace the suffering. I don't mean encourage new suffering, but embrace the ones that are already here. And we're not allowing ourselves to admit of having them, of going through something. That is the point of radical self-acceptance. Only by accepting them, we discover our true nature. Practice self-compassion, and down the line, our compassion turns into meaningful healing, and our radical self-acceptance then changes our perception towards the outside world as well. Namaste, my friends, and radical self-accept. I'll see you in my next video.